welcome back to my channel. My name is JJ, and it is no secret that I am a nerd. If you've been here or if you've watched any of my older videos, you'll know that there was a time when I was just doing like merch of the week kind of stuff too. This shirt was one of them, but it felt fitting to wear my Avengers shirt today because I plan on talking about one of my favorite Marvel characters, James Bucky Barnes. Just so you know, there's going to be a lot of spoilers in this video. There's going to be spoilers for Avatar. There's going to be spoilers for all of the Captain America movies. There's going to be spoilers for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier in particular. If you haven't watched them and you care about the spoilers, stop watching now. Otherwise, please enjoy my rambling and my rant about this character that I love. I watched the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And then I went through and I rewatched Captain America Civil War, Captain America the Winter Soldier, and Captain America the First Avenger. Why? Because now that we have even more of the storyline, I really, really wanted to know everything that I could about Bucky's character development. I do this thing. This isn't the first time that I've done this, but I thoroughly believe that one of the best ways to write believable characters and believable story arcs is to study how other people have done characterization or dialogue or done those types of character arcs in the past and the different effects that they've explored, so that you can know both what territory has already been covered and so that you can figure out, like, hey, this is old territory, but it still needs to be revisited. Because today I wanted to talk about James Bucky Barnes, and more importantly, all of the little character developments and characterization that Marvel has worked into his characterization. So, when we first meet them, we see Bucky as the best friend, sort of older brother, sort of protective person in Steve's life. He's one of the few people, Bucky's family in general, has taken Steve in more or less, even though Steve kind of fights it, right? We see Bucky routinely defending him, trying to help him in social situations, really just being a great wingman and a great backup support person. That's part of what makes him such a great side character, is that, and such a lovable character in general, is that he had the ability to just be a super involved and super emotionally invested support character for the main named character, right? However, we also get to see through the little itty-bitty little things that they do. When I was rewatching Captain America the First Avenger, I realized, and this gave me all sorts of feels, I realized that Bucky was being experimented on by Zola even before he fell off the train. So not only did he probably have trauma, did he definitely have trauma from being held hostage and being, like, taken by the Hydra research development team, but he also had trauma from being experimented on by Zola before Steve went and rescued everybody. That was, like, one of the main things that made Steve actually battle approved, right? As he kind of went against orders, went behind everybody's back, and went and saved pretty much the entire regiment for the sole purpose of saving Bucky Barnes. Right? I love their dynamic so much. So that's a thing that they just kind of snuck in there that I haven't actually heard talked about much in the fandom. I'm sure people have. I'm sure people have explored it. But that means that when Bucky woke up on the table as they were amputating his arm and putting on the metal one, it was not the first time he'd woken up on a scientific experiment table under Zola. That gave me all sorts of feels, that realization. All the feels. So this just analyzing that writing for a second here, that was one of those foreshadowing events, and also one of those like solidifying character development and expectations for the character as the story progressed and as everything kind of falls into place. That is one of those teeny tiny little details that they just kind of put in that a lot of people glance over, but that without that, it wouldn't be nearly as believable when he wakes up on the table again. My personal headcanon, now that I've realized that, is that that's probably part of why he survived the fall from the train. Whatever they were experimenting on him with, maybe it's some sort of power from the Tesseract, we don't know. They didn't actually go into that in the actual plot. If you're a comic nerd, you probably know. If so, let me know, because I haven't read the comics, and there's so many of them, I don't know if I'll ever actually be able to. So please, give me that comic knowledge, because I want it. Anyway, so that's one of those little things that got me when I was rewatching Captain America: The First Avenger. And then we have Bucky returned. And this is something that I've seen people analyze before, but in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, almost every time you see Bucky, especially, people have analyzed his costume, people have analyzed just, frame by frame, his Sebastian Stan's acting as Bucky in that particular role, where he both looks confused, concerned, a little afraid, a little reluctant, but also determined and resigned to see it through, right? So every time you get a close-up on his face, he's usually doing something that's, his eyes are really wide, he looks kind of scared, but that's what we get from him. Meanwhile, he's just off dodging entire trucks that he's actively blowing up. You can tell he's not in control of himself. He is, but it's something underneath him. His consciousness is kind of being pushed down and being replaced by whatever it is that is the Winter Soldier programming, right? I think, too, that Winter Soldier programming is something that, you never see that with the other Winter Soldiers later on in Civil War. In the flashback scenes that we get, they were all super soldiers, but they weren't programmed the same way he was. Which is probably what made him such an effective weapon, because he wasn't thinking for himself, and he was just following orders, right? And if you have a good enough soldier that you trust enough to have them follow orders without question, that's one thing, but as long as they can still think for themselves, that Winter Soldier programming isn't going to work. Which is something that's also a very interesting thing, because they had to completely take that away from Bucky. And in the process then, in Falcon and Winter Soldier, we got to see him getting that back. Also, in Civil War, we see a little bit of that reclaiming process on his own part, but he's muddling through it all. Nothing really makes sense. He's still mostly confused all the time and trying to figure out who he is, what his history is, while still being well, I know I can't just walk into places because I could just be arrested for all of my war crimes. What are you supposed to do with that? Every once in a while I just think about what I would do if I were in that situation, and I think I would just cry. That's such an intense scenario to just wake up one day, find out that you're a criminal, that you've killed a lot of people. Try to figure out how to live with that, first of all. Especially when you know that you weren't killing them by choice, you just had to kill them. Relearning how to sleep at night. Also, okay, on the topic of sleeping, I saw somebody on Tumblr going into this, but one of my favorite characterization things that they did in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is that in like the first or second episode, they show Bucky waking up on the floor of his very much not decorated apartment. Like, he sleeps there. He doesn't live there. Because he's never actually lived anywhere except for back before the war, right? They show him waking up on the floor. This is something that they also did with Oliver Queen in Arrow in like the first episode. There's an entire thing where he has a nightmare, the windows blow open because it's storming, he wakes up, or Moira walks in to like try to wake him up, finds him sleeping on the floor, tries to wake him up, he flips her and like almost karate chops her neck, right? Like, his instinct is still fight. Between fight or flight. His instinct is still fight. And so, slowly but surely as time progresses, they start showing these people when they return home sleeping in their own beds. Like, in beds or on couches. But that was the thing about Falcon and Winter Soldier, is the first time they show Bucky actually relaxed enough and sleeping without nightmares on a comfortable object is Sam Wilson's couch. And there's so many things about that like the characterization and the symbolism just makes me so happy. That's because, again, it's just all in the little details. But when Sam is just doing what he's always done. He's helping another soldier return home and continue functioning in society. Sam just doesn't realize that that's what he's doing with Bucky. You know? Like, it's so in character. So 100% in character that I love it. I love it. It makes me very happy. Anyway, I just had thoughts and feelings about Bucky Barnes and the Winter Soldier and his recovery arc and, to an extent, his redemption arc, but at the same time, what we're really seeing throughout all of the last few movies and this entire TV show is a return to pre-war Bucky. And even during war Bucky. Right? I mean, there's the whole montage of Captain America and the Howling Commandos all going in and taking out all of the Hydra bases. And there's that one moment where you see Steve is about to be attacked from behind and Bucky shoots them and Steve kind of like turns around and salutes. We see a very similar moment in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show when they're fighting a bunch of people, and somebody is about to sneak up on Sam, I'm pretty sure it's Sam, and they're about to, like, punch him. And Bucky just runs in there and, like, either tackles him or punches him or whatever. Because Bucky is doing what Bucky does best. Right? He's protecting his friend. He is the ultimate protector, and that's what made him such a good sniper. That's what made him such a good, like, right-hand man. That is what continues to make him so good at what he does in his support role. He is the definition of tactical support, and I love that they're including those little callbacks and those little details and connecting those things and being like, of course he would do this. Of course he would be the one who notices that someone else is about to be attacked and just run in and save them, right? Because that's such an important little detail. They didn't have to include that, but no, they had Bucky go in and do it. Which is a very intentional writing choice, and a very clever writing choice. And it makes me very happy. Those are the things that, like, when you're trying to think about how you should write your support character, it's all in the little details, all of the characterization. Obviously, you can still have them be best friends, you can have there be banter, you can have there be joking and teasing and all of that stuff. Like, again, Falcon and Winter Soldier is a great example of how you can do that because it's almost all banter. Like, all of the dialogue between Bucky and Sam is pretty much all banter except for that one scene with with Bucky's therapist, and the look into each other, the soul gazing scene, and the if he was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me line. That one hurt me. I almost started crying because that was the realest line of dialogue in the entire show, except for pretty much anything that Isaiah Bradley said, or Sam Wilson's speech in the last episode. Also extremely real and extremely important. And I mean, a lot of things that, like, Carly said as well. But, like, as far as important characterization moments for Bucky Barnes, that line is one of the most important things in the entire show, because it tells you exactly where his head is at and what he's processing through. And, like, if they hadn't have given us that line, they would have been missing out on a whole lot that they could have done with that show, especially in having him as one of the main named characters, right? Anyway, I just have thoughts and feelings and emotions and wanted to ramble about them. So thanks for coming to my ramble. Thanks for listening to me talk about characterization, and especially about this particular character and his characterization and his development, because it's so good, and I cannot wait to see what else they do with his character. Also, I really love that every once in a while, I mean, they just show that Bucky is super proficient with the shield, and that every time he gives it up, but they just routinely show that he's super proficient with it, and then he knows how to use it, and, like, you give him his metal arm and his shield, and, like, the man is almost unstoppable, right? Because you could use both as a shield or as a weapon, and then you also just, like, give him a knife or a gun or a motorcycle of any type. Like, I mean, he had lots of years to practice, but hot dang, he is good with almost any weapon. He's a very good person to have on your team and a very bad person to be against. And I just really appreciate that they have had him play both sides, and, more to the point, that they're letting people accept him even after he played both sides. Because that's really what a good redemption arc should be. Is that not only does he reform his ways and fix things, but the people that once fought him are accepting him into the fold, right? That's the thing that made Zuko's redemption arc in Avatar so important. Is that in the end, he was working with the Avatar. Without that, the redemption arc wouldn't have hit the same way. It wouldn't have held the same weight. Like, it's not an actual redemption arc if they change their ways and then they die. Or, like, they change their ways and then they're like, oh, ha ha ha, just kidding. Like, that's the thing that they were starting to do with Loki, too, but they killed him off too soon. So I'm really curious what they do with the Loki TV show, because I think that whole thing is going to be a redemption arc, and I'm really curious how they deal with that, because he was so close to having an actual redemption arc. And then they kind of just kneecapped it. But we'll see. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Also, in case any of you missed it, they changed the release date. It's not going to be on Fridays anymore. It's going to be on Wednesdays. And I'm psyched. I'm so excited. Anyway, okay, I've been rambling for far too long. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thanks for listening to me ramble about Marvel for the last 20 minutes. And if you are excited about Loki, or if you have other headcanons about Bucky, or if you just have headcanons in general, or if you know things about the comics that I don't know and you want to share with me, put those down below. Also, if you have any other characters that you want me to analyze like this, put them down below and I will gladly analyze them for you. Until next time, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. If you're still here and you're looking for something else to watch or listen to while I analyze things, I've done a few analytical videos about books, and you can find those there. Those are my book rants. This is going to be a film rant sort of thing, or I guess a character rant. But I've done a few book rants where I talk about the books and the plots and the characters and analyze the writing there. I've also done a few just fun meme videos that you can go check out there, or also make sure that you check out my short stories up there, because I'm a writer and I write short stories, and this is the sort of thing that I explore in my short stories. characterization, little details. How can I get the point across without telling it straight out? So, thanks for watching. Thanks for engaging with me, and thanks for sticking around. Like, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.